Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype, here on your Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Hey, before we get going, first I want to say thank you to any new subscribers here to the channel. And if you're not yet officially a subscriber, what you waiting for, my friend? Hit that subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, if you appreciate the support, please leave me a comment down below. Give it a thumbs up. It does help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, I thought we'd start out today by taking a look at the latest tornado count here. Then this takes us right through the 19th, where officially we had 883 tornadoes. Now, yesterday we had about 14 so far, but as the damage assessment teams get out there, we may add some additional ones to that. So far we're getting close to 900 tornadoes, which we're kind of running pretty close to what we were seeing last year at this time. Now, last year, it was a very, very active year. We had 1,910 tornadoes for the year. So a very active year, second busiest here in the last 20 years. So looks like we're going to continue that trend here. But it looks like as far as the short term is concerned, over the next week, I think we're going to see things begin to back off a little bit. Now, so far, here's all the plots. This is where all the tornadoes have been plotted so far for the year. So very, very active, especially there in the middle of the country. Missouri, Illinois, for example, had four or five more tornadoes yesterday. So a very active season here across a big portion of the country. Now, as we're getting ready to go into the June, obviously we start thinking about heat and drought indexes, where the drought is going to be pretty pronounced. And so far in the east, we're not looking too bad. Got a couple of pockets here to kind of watch. South Florida has been really kind of dry. They've kind of beaten that back a little bit. But areas here in the southwest, it was very dry this past winter and into spring. And it looks like those drought conditions probably will be getting worse here as we progress into the month, as the heat starts to really build there across the southeast. Now, or southwest, I should say. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the surface map right now as we're looking at the storm system. Very wet and rainy here across the areas of New England, back through the Great Lakes into the high plains. This kind of elongated area of upper level low and surface low. It's going to keep it very unsettled there. We've got some cooler weather that's going to be driving down here across the middle of the country and into the southeast. So below normal temperatures. In fact, very unusual. I kind of slug this as being very weird because when I show you the climate outlook here going out to basically taking into the first week in June, very unusual to see any kind of below normal temperatures across the United States. And that's what we're going to see going into the rest of May and into the month of June. Now, current watches and warnings pretty quiet. We just got a little cluster of flash flood watches there across areas of Pennsylvania and Maryland, and that's going to be a target zone for potential more heavy rain for today as we go through today. And it should begin to let up here in the days ahead here as that low begins to lift on out. So looking at the local radar, we are seeing a little bit of that wet, rainy weather right now, seeing that right there into areas of looking at portions of Puxatawny into Sandy, clearly Pittsburgh, Phillipsburg, I should say, seeing a little wet and heavy rain. And then we'll see some more rain in there kind of materialize, and some more thunderstorms are expected to form back over toward Ohio and kind of move back into Pennsylvania here as we go throughout the day. So let's go take a look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. We're going to go ahead and break this down. Things are settling down here. This is the good news here for you guys. We've had very, very active severe weather, obviously. We got little pockets kind of all in here. We got a little one up here in Ohio, West Virginia, and up here toward Pennsylvania. You got another one here across the middle of the country. Got a slight risk there across Arkansas and into areas of southern portions of heading into Missouri and into portions of southeastern Kansas. And you still kind of stretches back into Nebraska. Another little pocket here across the Carolinas or right across, got a slight risk there, and a marginal risk down here across Florida and South Georgia as well. So little pockets kind of here and there. Now, the good news is, not expecting any major tornado threat. We got a little pocket there right along the Carolina coast, and that's about it. Got another one up here in Ohio, but generally a low tornado threat here for a lot of the country. Wind threat, again, in those pocket zones, running about 5% on those brown areas there. As you can see, some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat, again, those two little yellow pockets, really those zones in there where the slight risk was at. Again, we're talking areas of Missouri, Arkansas, southeastern portion of Kansas, over here across the Carolina coast here for today. Now, what about your day two outlook? How's that looking? Let's look at day two here to take you out into your Thursday. I want looking at a little pocket of marginal here across Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Not looking bad. A little also down here in Florida as well. A little pocket down there to kind of watch. And then as far as your day three is concerned, let's look at day three. Again, we'll kind of shift out toward the plains. I suspect this one here might come up to a slight risk. Just kind of looking at things here, I think this one might come back up. But for right now, just a marginal risk from Nebraska, Kansas, down to Oklahoma, Arkansas, and portions of Missouri. So that's what we're looking at into your day 3 going to Friday. Obviously, Friday is kind of the start of the unofficial start for Memorial Day weekend. People getting early jump on travel. A lot of the major airports, though, looking pretty good. So if you have any flights on Friday, I think you're looking good. Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson, looking up toward the northeast. JFK, LaGuardia looking good. Chicago O'Hare's looking good. So again, if you got any travel plans on Friday flying out, it doesn't look too bad. Shouldn't see any big weather-related delays. Maybe a little bit there in the middle of the country, but that's really not bad. So let's talk about that flood risk. Again, we got several days to watch this here as we've got those little pockets. Again, we're kind of watching today, as you can kind of see that, that little pocket there across Pennsylvania. That's where that flash flood watch was. So that's where that slight risk is for today. We're going to check out the next 5 days as far as where we might see some heavy pockets of rain. Going into tomorrow, not a big deal for day 2. Day 3, going into Friday, right there in the middle of the country. Again, we do expect some thunderstorms in that area. So Kansas, going into Missouri and into Arkansas. That's going into your Friday. How about the weekend? Looking at Saturday, I got a little bullseye there across Missouri and Kansas. That's going into Saturday, and also back over toward Wyoming and in the Dakotas and Nebraska. And then going into day 5, a larger area. This is going into Sunday, so we'll have to watch this one closely. Looks like heavier rains here across Illinois and stretching back toward Texas. Might see some hefty thunderstorms in here as well as we go into this upcoming weekend going in toward your Sunday. And I'll show you that here in just a second. All right, so let's talk about those models. Let's see what we got going on here. Like I said, a very unusual weather pattern here kind of setting up here across the nation, especially with this kind of a cold air mass is kind of settling up across the eastern third. So this is our jet stream. Jet streams, that river air kind of drives the weather across the country. So this is looking at the North American model, the intermediate model here, taking you for the next next 2.5 days or so. So generally looking at a flow that's looking like this. You see this kind of bend back right in here. So this low pressure kind of putting. This is going to keep the eastern third of the United States a little unsettled going into Saturday. We have a little disturbances that are going to run here into the southeast going into Sunday and Monday. So going into Monday, looks like it might be a little bit wet there across portions of the southeast going into the last day, Memorial Day. But for the most of the weekend, not looking too bad. But definitely unsettled for the northeast, unseasonably cool. Wait till I show you the temperatures there. Really big, unseasonably cool for a lot of the country by May standards. You're definitely going to see that. Let's go ahead and look at as far as the reflectivity is concerned, where we kind of see things going on. Look at this low coming up. And you just know when you start seeing a little blue show up here across portions of Kansas and into areas of New England, there's a little bit of snow showing up there in May. The Northeast had a very unusual wintry season, a lot of snow up there, and to see snow showing up there on that model going up here over the next day and a half or so, 2 days, very unusual. But that low is going to keep it very cool, very wet, very damp, and below normal temperatures there. Notice this breakup of thunderstorms here at the end of the model run here as we go toward Friday. Remember, we saw that activity kind of pick up with the rain threat there, and there's those thunderstorms going into your Saturday morning. So Friday going into Saturday, got some looks like some decent thunderstorms here across the middle of the country going into Kansas, Missouri, and into Arkansas, even though the thunderstorms up here into areas of the South Dakota, still wet and rainy there into the Northeast. So that's going into your Saturday. So looks like the Northeast, I'm sorry, I wish I had better news for you guys. It's going to stay unsettled there and unseasonably cool. Now let's look beyond the 7 day. Let's go first, take a look at the temperatures first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Look at we'll be on the 7 day here in a second, but let's look at the temperatures. We're talking about this. Again, this is looking at your temperature profile here as we go into your Wednesday afternoon. So let's look at your highs here. Again, you're looking at 90s down here across Texas. These temperatures here in the Northeast, look, 46 degrees, 48 degrees. This is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 49 degrees, unseasonably cool up here. Even across areas back here. Remember, we got a lot of this rain that's kind of stuck in here. 48 degrees in Wisconsin, Minnesota at 46, 45. So very, very unusually cool up in the end of the zones. Kind of warm down here in the southeast. I look at Florida sitting at 94, and obviously Texas looking kind of hot, 93, 96. Southwest getting back up to 101 degrees, so very hot there. So let's go take a look at your Thursday morning. How about Thursday morning? How's that looking for you? So let's go into Thursday morning. Look how it says 40 degrees, 41, 47 in Indiana, 43 in Iowa, 41 there in the Dakota. So again, a lot of the northern tier. This is unusually cool for this time of year, even by, it's May 22nd. So it's getting kind of late to be seeing this kind of cool weather. Let's go into your Friday. Let's check that out here. Thursday afternoon, I should say. Thursday, getting ahead of myself again. Thursday afternoon, looking at a lot of 90s here across Texas once again. 90s here in South Georgia at 92 degrees. But look at the Northeast, 37. Oh, come on. 44. 49 in Ohio. So again, the whole Northeast still looking unseasonably cold there. Not bad here in the middle of the country. A little moderation there. 73 in Nebraska, 76 there in Kansas. So Very hot across the southwest, 100 degrees. So anywhere you see that purple there, you're getting in above, into the 90s, into around 100 degrees. Relatively not too bad here across Minnesota at 63. So let's take this into Friday now. Finally going into Friday. Let's go into Friday morning here. Friday morning, well, look at all these 40s in here. 40, 38, 46, 51. Even getting kind of cool down here into the mid-south. 50 degrees there into Tennessee. 48 in Missouri. 42 up in Minnesota. So again, all that screen is just showing you how unusually cool it is here across the country just over the next couple of days. And I think that trend's going to continue right into the end of the month, the way things are looking. And then your afternoon highs on Friday, we're backing up the temperatures here across the southeast. Very pleasant. Look at Atlanta, 75 degrees. That's probably almost 10 degrees below normal for this time of year. The northeast still looking at 40s, 36, 49. There's 36 up there in Maine, 35 in Maine. That's unreal. 50 degrees into Pennsylvania. Warming up briefly here in the middle of the country, 80 in Nebraska. See the foothills of the Rockies here near Denver, getting up into the 80s, even 90 up here, and still very warm across the southwest, very dry. Again, I was showing you those drought conditions for a reason, as we're going to see the temperatures getting hot, and those drought conditions are going to start getting a little worse there across that portion of the country. Now we can go ahead and take a look at the European. Getting a little ahead of myself, so we're going to be looking here, taking you right through the rest of this forecast period. We're going to look at, again, from the Saturday going into next week, going out 10 days. We're going 10 days out, because anything beyond 10 days, it's extrapolation at that point. So let's go ahead and take a look at this through Saturday. Again, we're going to watch those thunderstorms there in the middle of the country going into Sunday. So we have to watch this zone in here as we maybe see some potential severe weather, marginal, I think, at best here going into your Sunday afternoon as this goes into the southeast. And it's going to remain a little unsettled going into Memorial Day weekend for the southeast. So this is going into Memorial Day morning. A little bit wet there across Alabama and areas of Texas, a little wet. And that'll continue throughout the day on Monday. So it looks like Memorial Day weekend here across the southeast is going to be a bit on the damp and wet side. But out in the west, looking pretty good on Memorial Day. Northeast will finally start to dry a little bit as that upper level low kind of moves on out of there and that cool air gets on out here. Remains unsettled going into Tuesday there across the southeast. It continues with the rainy weather there, and it's still looking unsettled up into the Carolinas and back toward areas of Louisiana. And still looking unsettled here across the northeast as well. Look at this here going into Wednesday afternoon. Still looking at some showers up there. Got some rains here across South Texas. That's welcome. We'll take that. It's been dry there a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and take this all out into Thursday. Again, it's rainy weather across Texas there. And looks like as we go into Friday, it kind of sits to the southeast there. Look at this big old high in there. I mean, this is a big kind of upper cutoff low here sitting across the middle of the country. This is going to be unusually cool weather here across the southeast going into the end of the month. So I see the 558 height. That's a cool upper level low there sitting here across the eastern part of the United States. That's going to keep us very unsettled here to wrap up the month of May. So that'll take us all the way out to our 10-day outlook here. So what that's telling us is it looks like we're going to stay a little unsettled across Texas, the southeast, a little bit on the wet side, and unusually cold over about the eastern two-thirds of the country. That's what the latest long-range models is showing right now. So let's wrap this up by looking at the Climate Center outlook here. Again, there's the big bullseye. This takes us out from May 26th through the 30th. This kind of dovetails what we're kind of seeing there with the climate outlook there. So again, you're looking at unusually cool weather here as we're going to see temperatures below normal. That's cool. Very warm, above normal weather out here into the west. Let's take this out into the first week of June. How's that looking? So this goes from the 28th through the 3rd. Again, still looking at below normal temperatures here in the east. Still looking at that. Very unusual to start the month of June. To see blue in any going into May and June especially, I don't see that very often. So this is very weird, very unusual. Above normal here out in the west, though, kind of hot and dry out there in the west. We'll have to monitor those drought conditions out there as it's going to stay dry for the most part here over the next 10 days. How about the precipitation outlook? Again, down here across the southeast, we're looking at a pretty wet pattern here across Texas and into the southeast. Notice the dry weather out here in the west where that warm weather is from the Rockies back here toward California. And looking at the high plains, a little dry up here as well. And we'll take this out. Let's check out the first week of June, getting into the first week of June. Again, dry there across California, the high plains into the Midwest. So a little bit of moisture there across the southwest. Hopefully that'll help with some of the drought conditions out there. The heat's definitely going to be building, so any kind of precipitation they can take in this area, they will definitely take it. That's for sure. And a little wet here across the southeast and across the eastern seaboard as well as we finish up and head into the first week of June. Now, of course, June 1st begins the hurricane season, and we'll be watching that very closely for you guys as well. Again, I appreciate everybody checking out the channel here. Again, I thank everybody for our live severe weather coverage here that we had over the last few days. Had a very successful broadcast last night. We got a lot of new subscribers here on the channel. So again, I want to thank you guys for checking us out. Hopefully we'll get to do it again in the future. Again, if you have any weather-related questions, perhaps you got something coming up, maybe a flight or something going on, as always, you can always post that question down below, and I'm more than happy to answer your question. And again, we try to keep it real here. Our motto here is to keep you prepared and not scared, and hopefully we can accomplish that. All right, that's y'all's update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. Till then, y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.